Is Arch Manning the biggest disappointment in college football this season? This past weekend, Arch Manning and the Texas Longhorns hosted the UTEP Miners, winning 27-10, improving their record to 2-1 on the year. However, it was another pedestrian performance from Manning, who just threw for 114 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Luke, you wrote a piece on athlonsports.com titled "Arch Manning is nowhere near ready for the NFL." As our senior draft analyst, these are pretty harsh words for what many people thought was going to be a generational QB talent. So, what have you seen that makes you think that Arch is not ready for the NFL?
Yeah, I don't know if we've seen a bigger discrepancy between off-season hype for a quarterback prospect and the reality of the product that we've seen on the field over these last 3 weeks. And again, and I'm as guilty as anybody. I mean, coming into this year, I had early, mock drafts after as soon as the 2025 draft was over, and Arch Manning was at the top at number 1. And again, it's always a challenge to take such a very small sample size, over the very few snaps that he's played, behind Quinn Ewers when he got an opportunity the last couple of years at Texas. And, look at what high school tape we're supposed to, we're making a lot of assumptions. We always are when it's that early in the process. But I mean, you saw a bunch of physical tools that were exciting. You saw arm strength and arm talent. You saw the ability to make plays with his legs and the athleticism and all of the physical traits were there for him to develop. And you're thinking, okay, you've had a couple years in Sark's system. You've had a couple of flashes of that potential in game situations, but now it's your turn. You've had plenty of time to digest all this stuff, plenty of time to develop, and now you're going to get an opportunity to show it. Week 1 was its own thing. When you have to go your first career road start ever, and you got to go to Columbus and you got to play a star-studded defense with Matt Patricia just putting you in a blender mentally with all the pre-snap, post-snap movement. Like that's its own thing. I don't really fault the way he played in that game. But if you really look deeply at the film in the San Jose State game, which again, you could look at the box score and be like, oh, he scored 5 touchdowns. Thank God, Arch Manning is back. But the film looked very similar to the film we saw this past week against UTEP, where he completed basically 5 passes in the first half. He had 10 straight incompletions in this game. And again, you're missing layups. You're missing very simple, very timing and rhythm throws to guys that are just wide open. You're skipping throws on the ground that are like, Pop Warner type passes that you should be able to complete. And so this whole conversation that we had through the offseason was crowning him already based on a very small sample size. And this is the danger of doing that, is that now that he is the full-time starter, now that he is playing every snap, the reality just hasn't lived up to the hype. And again, my biggest issue, and we talked about this on BPA, best podcast available earlier this week. I had Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus on to kind of break this down a little bit. He said he was halfway through that San Jose State game, and he went back to last year's tape to be like, was Arch as fundamentally and mechanically flawed last year as he is this year? And the answer is no. So I don't know what happened in the degradation of his mechanics. His arm angle is awful. His consistency, his mechanics are so sloppy. His accuracy is suffering. His lower body is not synced up with his upper body in terms of where he's setting up and where he's trying to throw. He's making these weird, off-platform sidearm throws for no reason whatsoever. Like, it's one thing when the exterior circumstances dictate that you change your arm angle or you can't really throw with your base if you want to. He is just all over the place mechanically and fundamentally for no reason whatsoever. Like, the protection really hasn't even been the problem. And so the interception he threw on Saturday against UTEP was just the prime. Every quarterback knows you never throw late over the middle, especially in the red zone. And he just heaves this random prayer over the middle of the field into the end zone and it gets picked off. There's just so many moments where it's funny. A couple of weeks ago, when everybody, Archie Manning came out and was like, "Oh, he's going to be at Texas, in 2026. Don't worry about that." And everybody was like, "Oh, why? Well, all this stuff." It's like, okay, maybe now we understand why. Like, I just look at him. I'm not trying to, say he's not going to be able to be a successful NFL quarterback. What I do know after watching these next 3 weeks is something's really wrong with his mechanics that has to get fixed if he's going to have success in college, let alone the NFL. We can't even talk about the NFL yet because he's got to figure out a way to be successful if Texas wants to go to the playoff, if Texas wants to win the SEC. That's first. Like, he's got to figure out how to be successful at the college level. As we project it to the NFL, this just looks like a kid who needs to play a lot more football before he's dealing with NFL defenses, because the things that he is struggling with are not even about the other team. It's not about, he's having trouble reading coverages, or his opponent's doing this. Really, he's got issues that he needs to figure out, whether he's throwing in the backyard with his uncles or UTEP or Ohio State or anybody before he even sets foot on the same field as an NFL team. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm literally reclassifying him like he's a 2027 prospect for me. I know he's going to be eligible for the 2026 draft. I'm not having that conversation unless he makes a huge leap over the remainder of this season and looks like a completely different quarterback. Because right now, like I said in the article, he's just not ready to face NFL defenses because college defenses are making him look really, really bad. And the things that have to be fixed are on such a fundamental level that he's got to go back to basics. He's got to go back to the beginning and figure out those issues before we can deal with anything else that exists outside of it.
I agree with everything you said, except the defenses are making him look bad. The defenses are not, well, Patricia's defense did. That Patricia Ohio State defense would have made most NFL quarterbacks go, woo. Yeah. And like the interception against UTEP where he ran left for 25 minutes and ran right for 25 minutes and then threw it across his body. That was actually one of the few plays I've seen him this season throw over the top like he did in 2024. And I found it funny when you mentioned that Trevor had done that, gone back to his 2020, because I did that this morning without knowing that. Like, okay, we're going to talk about Arch. I want to see if he was that over the top thrower that he was not this season. And yeah, he looked like Uncle Peyton. And like I said on the BPA podcast a couple months ago, now we have a Manning who can move. Well, the movement stuff is part of it. Really, it's and I don't know why, Sarkisian has said it's not an injury problem. I don't think he looks hurt. And he can still throw over the top like he did on that horrible interception. He did throw over the top because he sort of had to. So it reminds me of when Joe Flacco came into the 2013 season. And he had just got on that all-time playoff heater when the Ravens won the Super Bowl at the end of the 2012 season. First couple of games, he was pushing the ball on every snap. Like, why are you pushing it? And about 3 games in, he stopped doing that. He just reverted to old Flacco, and he was good Joe Flacco again for a number of years. But the sidearm thing, the 3-quarter delivery thing, where all of a sudden he is the modern Phillip Rivers or Rich Gannon, even when he doesn't have to be. And no coach wanted Rivers or Gannon to throw sidearm. No coach encouraged that. It was all like, okay, well, you're so good at everything else that we'll, all right, fine.
We'll let it slide. We're not going to bother trying to fix it.
We're not going to mess with your mechanics if this is how you're comfortable. Clearly, the sidearm crap is not where Arch Manning is comfortable because, and Luke, you played quarterback. You know this. And the other thing about this is that he's doing the old Blake Bortles thing where he comes underneath to come up top, and then he's adjusting sidearm. This graphically affects the timing of your upper body mechanics. So, of course, your lower body is never going to be in sync because you have to retime that whole thing. Now, all of a sudden, well, am I leading with my front foot? Are my eyes over here? Well, what is my arm doing over here? It's like he's got a phantom zombie arm that's doing its own thing. And I think that's the main problem. I don't know why he's become a sidearm quarterback. I don't know what the deal is. But, if you're Matthew Stafford, you want to do it once in a while with the no look, sure, you're Matthew Stafford. You have Hall of Fame arm talent. Arch is not in a position yet where he's able to do that and then go back to what he should be doing. It's a lot to put into the kid's head. I have no clue. It's either a mechanical flaw that they haven't fixed or they're trying to fix it and it hasn't hit yet, or I don't know what. But until that's fixed, until his mechanics are consistent, we talk about the all-time great quarterbacks. I mean, Tom Brady. If you took a video of Tom Brady from 2009 and one from 2021 and you superimposed them, I am damn sure he would look like the exact same quarterback, frame to frame to frame, because he was maniacal about it. With Arch right now, it's like he's just going out there and winging it. That doesn't work in college. It certainly will not work in the NFL. So as you said, this isn't about his draft position at this point. This is about him surviving the season.
It seems like there's a lot of, tarnished reputation around Arch. Maybe he's not going to make it this year. Do you think there's anything that he can do for himself? Obviously if he returns to form and looks like the quarterback, to reignite himself being the top prospect in this year's draft, or has that ship sailed?
I mean, it definitely hasn't sailed just because there's a lot of football left to be played, and we've seen prospects make huge improvements. And I'll never be the draft analyst who tells you a player can't do something, especially when there's this much runway left. You're setting yourself up to look ridiculous because, and I genuinely believe that prospects are capable of a lot more than we think we are, and there's so many variables to it as well in terms of your coaching staff and your scheme and what are you asked to do. It's one thing I preach every year with the draft is that if you're just looking at the college tape, you have to remember that what they're asked to do in college is not necessarily indicative of all they are capable of doing in the NFL. And we see that every year with prospects who are better pros than they were in college because the opportunities are different, the scheme is different, the responsibilities are different, and sometimes it matches their skill set. Quarterback is a little bit of a different beast. It's so much about things that he can control that we're not even getting to the other team yet. We're not even dealing with the exterior factors. It's fundamental mechanical stuff so if you're asking what can he do, he's got to go back to basics. He's got to go back to the beginning. I mean, one thing I've noticed on so many throws, he just doesn't look like he is confident in where the ball is going because there's no follow through. Like once he releases the ball, regardless of the trajectory or the arm angle, his body stops. He's backing away from the throw, which means you have no confidence in where the ball's going. You're just like, I guess maybe this.
And that, by the way, is an abysmal habit to do that fadeaway jumper thing. I mean, Jay Cutler got away with it. Jordan Love gets away with it, but it's not something you want.
And again, I've taught quarterbacks at 10 years old these mechanical things where it's like if you want arm strength, it has to start in your lower body. Yep. If you want power on your throws, you have got to get your lower body, your hips. You've got to get your feet set. All of those things make it to where if you're doing all that right and you're getting all that torque from your lower body, the arm is the cherry on top. The arm is just like, oh, I don't have to do near as much work here because you're generating so much power from your trunk. You're generating so much power from everything below the rib cage that your arm just has to make sure it goes the right way, release it the right way, and you're not putting so much stress on your arm. When you're not engaging your lower body, your feet and your shoulders and your rotation are not in sync whatsoever.
They're all it's like he's in three different places at once.
Yeah, and you're backing away from your throws and you're fading away from them. All of that torque, all of that power comes to a screeching halt before you release the ball, and that's what makes it die. That's what makes it skip. That's what makes it go off. Again, even pitchers know this in baseball in terms of release point and where your feet are landing. Like, there's so many mechanical things that are so fundamental to the position that he's got to fix. And I just don't know how much of an in-season fix is possible for those types of things. Those are the things you're supposed to be able to handle in spring practice, in the off-season, behind closed doors, and just practice in solo sessions. So much of the season is about your opponent and game planning and week-to-week type of preparation specific to that task that I don't know if the issues that are plaguing him are fixable. I just know that the talent, I think, is definitely there to develop. I just think he's got to play a lot more football, and I think he needs another full offseason in that program to just focus on his mechanics and his fundamentals before we can have a conversation about him being a top draft pick again.
And this season may be where he learns for the rest of his career, this is what happens when I just sort of fling it and wing it mechanically, which no quarterback can do at any level of football because the defense's whole job is to take all your perfect mechanics and upend them through pressure, through disguised coverage, through all these, stunts and coverage switches and all that. If you don't come in with damn near perfect mechanics, you have no chance. So right now he has no chance. The obvious answer is go back to 2024 and just do what you did then. This is obviously not a guy who's scared of hard coaching. He's been coached hard his whole life. He's got there are more football brains in that family than any other family in the history of the world. That's not the problem. The problem is, however he got to where he is now with this sort of improvisational thing, dump it because it's not working.
And again, the glass half full version of this story is this is the moment, this is the situation that allows him to become the quarterback he's capable of becoming down the road. Yeah. He's a young player. He's got a lot of football ahead of him. He just needs the reps. He needs to look at this as an opportunity to say, this is what it looks like when the fundamentals aren't correct. And he's got nothing but opportunities in front of him to correct those things and to live up to the hype eventually. It's just time to pump the brakes and punt a little bit on this draft process, I think, and focus on those things. But he can absolutely become everything we expected him to be this year. There's just a lot more work to be done than I think a lot of people expected. And that's what we've seen through these first 3 weeks.
And I'll just to summarize, every quarterback gets spike strips in their careers. He can go ask Uncle Peyton about Uncle Peyton's rookie season. All those picks look terrible. John Elway rookie season looked terrible. not everyone can be Jaden Daniels right off the bat. So,
how concerned are you about Arch Manning? Let us know in the comments below.